We're here to kind of show you the idea of the art of intention. And here you see some of my journals. And this is actually the journal that I used for the prototype while I was working on the 12 months of dream. And the inside of the pages where I kind of worked through some of the pieces of art, and some were kind of more sketch ideas that then went into visual and digital collage and onto larger form. But this is my own 12 Months of Dreams book, which is what you're going to be creating starting in these first 6 weeks. Today's video is going to be just showing you how I work with the art of intention. Sound good? And once again, this is the 12 Months Journal. Here you see one of my art of intention pieces that I created around doing the equine therapy, which we did this actually during one of the sessions we held, and this was the piece that I created after that. And here's another one that says, if there's something beyond the horizon, what if? That was a fall piece, see beyond. So you can see from my journal, it's pretty beat up. These journals of mine, I don't think are very precious. I mean, they are precious, I shouldn't say it that way, but what I mean is that I don't want them to be these perfect places where I can't make mistakes and there can't be drips and bubbles and things like that. I want this to be a place where I can really let go and see what reveals itself to me, because that feels like what the idea of visual journaling is. So again, this is the journal that I created for during those 12 months, and this was September. So I'm going to go back to a blank page and we're going to get started. Okay, we're back. So, since I'm never really sure where I'm going to go, I may have kind of a visual beginning place, but I may just also have a feeling or an idea. I like to have a lot of different kinds of supplies around me. So here you can see I've got one of my old photographs that's actually on tissue paper, some brochure that I just didn't want to throw out for whatever reason, some greeting cards, an old photograph, actually a self-portrait of mine. These are some magazines, and just a little note about the types of magazines. I like to find if I'm in the bookstore, I kind of look for offbeat magazines, things that have like images that are somewhat archetypal, because I think that it can help us access that unconscious material. So if you're down in like one of your neighborhood bookstores or one of the big corporate bookstores, start looking in the magazine section. Actually, this is another one. Hold on, let me get it here. This is another one I found one day, and it's just filled with this really wild Japanese crazy art. And I've been holding on to this for a while. And that brings us to a really good question that actually came up in last night's discussion. Sometimes these images are pretty precious to us, and so my suggestion is, if you've got an inkjet copier or a color copier, that's the easiest way to make a scan or something like that, so it's on your hard drive. You can either use the scan or the original for this work. And for this particular assignment, we're not going to worry about the type of, whether it's a real color copy or an inkjet. For now, what we just really want to do until we get into the transfer part is just use the magazine images. So the other things that I have on the table are my very inexpensive hardware brushes, and I get these down at the at the hardware store. They're pretty inexpensive. And a bucket of water and my cup of tea and a few more magazines. And then I love using stencils in my work, and you can also find these at the hardware store. They come in like cardboard. You break them apart. They're really pretty fun. And we have the glue stick and our scissors. Yes, I know, Kathy, I don't tell people to use scissors, but in this class, we're going to say scissors are okay if you want. But if you find yourself getting caught up in the details, then I'm going to suggest you continue to rip. I traditionally, as some of my students can tell you, do not allow my students to cut, because what I think happens when we're doing collage and we're cutting, sometimes we just get so caught up in making those images perfect that we forget really what it is we're supposed to be doing, which is just being with that more dreamlike and unconscious place. And so I can promise you that you can learn to be an expert ripper in a short amount of time. I am someone who personally likes to cover the white page. I am someone who, when I see this, I get pretty locked up and intimidated. So I know for some of you, the idea of using paint is a little bit new and unnerving. So I'm just going to show you. These are golden acrylic paints, but these are kind of the more fancy schmancy paints and meant to be used for archival. You can use watercolors from your kids' watercolor drawer. You can use tea bags and just literally stain, or you can even take different kinds of pieces of paper and simply cover up the paper just so it's not white anymore. We're going to imagine is that I have already done my guided imagery. And so once I've come out of my guided imagery, which you are now able to download on the site, I am going to have all of these different things ready for me to work with so that I don't have to think too much anymore about gathering my materials. Okay, we're back. So as you can see, I've got my candle lit. I love to work in my studio with a candle lit. I don't know, there's something really nice and sacred about that. And for our purposes today, I am just going to do a single page spread. Very often, as you can see, I will do double page spreads and kind of work in story format. But today, for our purposes and to kind of make the video a little bit more concise, we're going to work with just a single page. Mail yesterday came this postcard, and it says imagine. And you know, it was sitting on the counter. I didn't even really get what it was because like we get so much junk mail. But I thought, oh, you know what? That's where I'm going to start today, because I feel like that's really what we are all doing. And inside me, I know time for imagining right now is really calling me. And that time for playful creation is something that I am really looking forward to. And again, I don't know where this is going to lead me. So for now, I'm just going to put that over here as a place to start, because it may not even end up being in the image at all. And I'm going to start by simply, I've finished my guided imagery. I am looking and thinking about my mile markers. And now I'm going to start just shuffling through the images. And again, sometimes I'll hold these upside down because I don't want to get caught up in the details. And I'm simply going to work really fast and start pulling out images that call to me. Why they're calling to me, I'm just going to let them speak to me the way they will. O'Keefe, actually, also working outside. And when I pulled those two images, I could feel the place of what was calling me. That yearning for quiet time, that yearning for nature, the yearning away from technology. And what I'm feeling is this place of imbalance, trying to sort of, like a teeter-totter, and that house was this incredible depiction of what it feels like. Life, work, balance. With me sort of right there in the middle, holding it all together. And then I put the wing on O'Keefe. I saw that flower and it immediately looked like wings to me, and I just thought, wow, what she's doing outside, painting, that freedom that she must feel, being sort of that winged woman that she was. And then we move up, and I had pulled the Buddha, because that's a deep part of my belief and how to find grounding. And I just love how it balances those images. And it's sitting on top almost of the house, but really floating. And then, again, another image of self-house. And I just love, I don't know why I'm so drawn to that image. I don't really even have an explanation, except that there's something very haunting about it for me. And it felt, to me, very familiar. Again, sort of like a pull, but I think I'm thinking too much. A pull between out of doors, house, self, and then this clock, which actually is not so much a clock, but it actually has the days of the week on it. And this morning, the morning after our first class, I woke up and for the first time in a week did my yoga for 20 minutes, and that was my everyday bliss. And I have to thank all of you, because I had been kind of putting that on the back burner to help my dog get out sooner and me get out sooner and get ready for clients. And so I actually got up 20 minutes earlier to put that in and felt completely different. And so this last image for me is where look, she's delivering this beautiful message. And I almost feel like she's sending me a message as she faces down. And this actually, I don't know if you can see what it says. It says, we wants today and we needs. And actually the whole image actually said equality, which is something that also I think is calling me in terms of certain things in my life. So here she is flying down to remind me that these are very, 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 very deep parts of my essence, and that I can no longer put them on the back burner to deal with that. So what is calling me? Balance. I hope this has helped, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's been fun actually doing this with you. Have a wonderful time exploring your first Art of Intention piece. What is calling you?